Welcome to the Antiquities Travel Guide, a helping hand for visiting historic places. Follow us to different countries as we search for ancient artifacts. If you too wish to explore the ancient past through travel, we'll help you plan where to go, what to see, and how best to enjoy what you encounter. In this series of the ATG, you can accompany Natalie and me on our trek through Egypt, homeland of the ancient Egyptians, Cushites, Libyans, Asiatics, and Greeks. Come on, let's go. Mansoura is a city in the heart of the Nile Delta, near the Damietta branch of the Nile River, a convenient starting point for our trek into the eastern delta today. We just spent the night here in Mansoura at our Airbnb, which is very nice. And now we're going to go to our next destination. We got 2 archaeological sites we're going to visit today, and the first is Tanis. So we're just waiting for the police to get here. They have to escort us there, and then we'll be on our way. As was the case yesterday, the Antiquities and Tourism Police gave us an escort, which they often insist tourists, especially American tourists, receive. Ehab, our guide, suggested we stop to get some coffee and a little bite to eat before we ventured out. He found a cool little stand on the street which offered a tasty Egyptian breakfast, and we took it with us. You'll notice a lot of beeping coming from the cars in Egypt. It's a part of the culture. But they're not beeping their horns so much because they're angry. Since driving is kind of a free-for-all, they just want to alert people when they're coming or need to get through. These little canals you see are for irrigation. They reminded me of similar canals the ancient Egyptians would have used, also for irrigation, but for travel as well. Although they were very familiar with the wheel, the Egyptians preferred using boats for getting from place to place, and for transporting materials, and their canals penetrated into all areas of their country. Keep in mind that the inhabited part of Egypt was never too far from the river.
So we're just stopping here to get some amazing fresh dates because Ehab told us how it's good to have 3 dates every day, first thing in the morning. So we're going to try out his healthy Egyptian diet. Okay, so we're trying these amazing dates. These are not dried, these are raw. So red dates. Let's try it. It's good.
I think they're underripe.
It's kind of juicy. Yeah. It's a little chunky, but
Some distance into our morning drive, I began to realize we were heading in the wrong direction. We weren't going towards Tanis. I asked what was going on, and it turned out that our driver was under the impression we were supposed to go to Bubastis first. It was too late to alter course, so I rolled with it. Bubastis first, then Tanis. Tell Basta, known to the Greeks as Bubastis, and today called Tell Basta, is situated at the southeastern edge of the city of Zagazig, the capital of the Sharqiya Governorate. In Egypt, Per means domain, so the city name means the domain of Bastet. It was the home of a cult dedicated to the cat goddess Bastet. Technically, the name Per Bastet referred to the temple of the goddess, and the city just took on the name of the temple. Bastet's cult may have originated in this very place. She was depicted as a woman with a cat's head. Although there were several feline deities in Egypt, some of them lions, she was worshipped in the form of the domesticated cat, and many mummified examples of cats have been found buried here. Bastet was not only the goddess of cats, but also the home, domesticity, fertility, childbirth, and women's secrets. In other words, it was believed she protected the health of women and children by warding off evil spirits and disease, and ensured the safety of the home. Oh, so here's the map of the entire area.
Right.
And there are quite a few sites you might recognize. So we're at Tell Basta, right here. Tanis is to the north, and we're going there next. But look at the other sites here. Do you recognize any of them?
Yeah, this is Avaris, the capital of the Hyksos.
Yeah. And right next door, Ramses, this is the city of Ramses, mentioned at the beginning of Exodus.
That's right. It's all very close by in the neighborhood.
Yeah. So this was quite an important area during Egyptians' dynastic history.
So we're here at the site of Tell Basta, and to get in, I believe it's 60 Egyptian pounds, which works out to around $250 US.
Sitting on the now dried-up Pelusiac branch of the Nile, Per Bastet was at the crossroads of two trade routes, one going into the Levant and another going into Sinai, which made it an important economic and political center. We have evidence of this city existing in Old Kingdom times. There are the remains of Ka temples built for Pepi I and Teti I of the 6th dynasty. Large granite blocks carry the names of Khufu and Khafra, kings from the earlier 4th dynasty, but we're not sure if these blocks came from original buildings here or were brought here later. There are cemeteries in the northwest area of the site that contain burials from the Old Kingdom all the way to the late period. In Pepi I's temple, which is small but the parts of which are relatively complete, the king is shown on the lintel of the gateway, with Bastet in front of him giving him the sign of life. That indicates the goddess Bastet was probably the main divinity of the town even back then. Recent excavations have found the remains of a provincial palace underneath Pepi's temple, which was used at least from the middle of the 4th dynasty to the end of the 5th. It was leveled to make way for the new temple. Many more blocks were found here from the time of the Middle Kingdom. Amenemhet III of the 12th dynasty had a building here. Due to its large size, around 16,000 square meters, it is believed that it was the residence of King Amenemhet himself when he was in town, or maybe one of the important officials, such as the mayor of the city or the governor of the province. In the New Kingdom, Ramses II added some monuments, which he was prone to do practically everywhere. It was not, however, until the 3rd intermediate period, when the Meshwesh Libyan dynasty arose, that Per Bastet rose to major city status. The transformation of the town by the Meshwesh rulers, Meshwesh refers to an ancient Libyan Berber tribe, was precipitated by events that occurred at the end of the New Kingdom, when the Sea Peoples, migrants from the area of the Aegean Sea and Asia Minor, invaded the western delta with the aid of Libyan allies. Ramses III defeated them, and he placed the captured Libyans in military settlements within Egyptian territory. It seems Per Bastet was one of these settlements. Over time, the Meshwesh Libyans grew in power in the city, and by the time of Pasamkanu II, the last king of the 21st dynasty, a fellow named Shoshenq, a resident of Per Bastet, rose to prominence. The king had granted him military titles, Great Chief of Chiefs and Great Chief of Ma. Ma is short for Meshwesh, and gave his daughter Ma'at Kara in marriage to Shoshenq's son Osorkon. After the death of Pasamkanu II and the collapse of the 21st dynasty, Shoshenq, whom we call Shoshenq I, ascended to the throne, founding what we call the 22nd dynasty. The ancient Egyptian historian Manetho called this dynasty Bubastite, after the name of their home city. Under the Bubastite kings, this city and Tanis, which we will visit next, formed the heart of their domain. Osorkon I and II erected major structures here, enlarging the Temple of Bastet and adding temples to Atum and Mihos. Despite its name, the famed Bubastite portal was never here, but in fact can be found at the Temple of Amun in Karnak in Upper Egypt. It was indeed put there by the kings of this dynasty, but we won't be able to see it until we go to Karnak.
We're here at this massive pink granite statue of Queen Meritamun. She was actually the daughter of King Ramses II and his wife Nefertari. And after her mother, Queen Nefertari's death, she actually became her father, King Ramses II's great wife. So this is the front. You can see it's actually pretty intact. There's a bit of damage on it. She's holding the lotus flower. It sort of curves, like her arms like this, and then do you see the wings, the feathers, framing her face? This is such a beautiful statue. It's actually a lot larger than I expected it to be. I thought I could just sort of point at little details, but it is so huge and beautiful, and we're just walking to the back right now where we'll see different hieroglyphic inscriptions, and I think there are 3 cartouches on the back. One of the cartouches at least has an inscription of the goddess Ma'at, which was the goddess of justice. So that's really interesting. It's beautiful. Look at that over here.
This colossal pink granite statue weighs in at 80 tons. Osorkon II liked it so much that he reinscribed the back of it with his own name along with that of his wife, Karomama. Archaeologists have continued to work at Tell Basta, and as they find new interesting objects, they put them in the open-air museum. Most of them are not yet labeled. Recently, pieces of a royal colossal standing statue were found in the festival hall of Osorkon II in the Temple of Bastet, which was temporarily placed off to the side. These are the parts of a statue, and you can notice here there are holes in them, right? These are drill holes. They used to use these tube drills to drill into the stone, and the purpose of them was to attach the different parts of the statue. So you have the pieces of a statue here, and they would put dollies in there to hold the statue together. This whole statue is granite, by the way, pink granite. You can see the head of the king here. There's his eye. Over here you can see the cartouche of the king on his shoulder.
Point out, what's that white thing?
That? Let's get out of the way. The archaeologists think it was originally made by Senusret I in the Middle Kingdom, then was usurped by Ramses II and erected in Memphis, and then was usurped by Osorkon II and brought here. The inscriptions carry the names of both Ramses and Osorkon.
Pillar, base.
This here was once on top of this. Isn't that cool? Just imagine taking that and right on top. Oh, this is cool. This is the cartouche of Ramses. There were many kings of the 22nd and 23rd dynasties that carried the throne names Osorkon, Shoshenq, and Takelot, which makes the history of the times difficult to unravel. The numbering of these kings, and the Shoshenqs in particular, are inconsistent, so it can be confusing to the average person. And we keep finding more people with those names. For example, in the 90s, a piece of a limestone door lintel was discovered in the western part of the central yard of the Temple of Bastet, and it refers to a previously unknown King Shoshenq, Shoshenq Tutkapere. now numbered as Shawshank II B, who clearly built something here. This motif here is very common in Egyptian pillars. This is made out of beautiful pink granite, probably from Aswan, and this is the palm design, the palm pillar top, and it has a long history of usage in Egypt. There are more than 30 different column designs from ancient Egypt, but I will give you the basics. The capitals on the columns usually have a plant theme. There is the palm design, as you see here, a palmette design, a papyrus design, symbolic of Lower Egypt, with open or closed buds, and a lotus design, symbolic of Upper Egypt. There also is a goddess Hathor design. Columns were made of different types of stone, depending on how much they wanted to spend on them. In early times, it was common to have one large monolithic block as a column, but in later times, they found it was easier and more efficient to use sectional blocks. They would then smooth them. Columns were painted so it hid the section divisions anyway. As they got better at building, the Egyptians were able to space their columns further apart. We are here looking at the ruins of the Temple of Bastet itself. You can kind of get an idea for its size when it was new, but all that's left, of course, are a bunch of toppled stones. The Temple of Bastet was once the jewel of the city. It was relatively modest in size at first, but during the 22nd dynasty, it began to be expanded. Osorkon I made additions, but the most significant work was done by Osorkon II. This colonnade leads to a hypostyle hall built by him, which featured papyrus and Hathor columns. Okay, as you can see along here, you have all the pillars going down the entrance hall of the temple. And these pillars are a different style than what we saw over there. These feature, like you can see over on the far one over there, that's the papyrus pillar top, right? Another style. When the papyrus is closed, that refers to nighttime. When it is open, that's during the daytime. The Greek historian Herodotus, who visited Egypt around 450 BCE, speaks of an annual festival held at Bubastis in honor of Bastet, whom he calls Artemis, the Greek equivalent. Of the towns in Egypt that were raised, in my opinion, Bubastis is especially prominent, where there is also a temple of Bubastis, a building most worthy of note. Other temples are greater and more costly, but none more pleasing to the eye than this. Bubastis is, in the Greek language, Artemis. When the people are on their way to Bubastis, they go by river, a great number in every boat, men and women together. He found this unusual. Some of the women make a noise with rattles, others play flutes all the way, while the rest of the women and the men sing and clap their hands. As they travel by river to Bubastis, whenever they come near any other town, they bring their boat near the bank. Then some of the women do as I have said, while some shout mockery of the women of the town. Others dance, and others stand up and lift their skirts. They do this whenever they come alongside any riverside town. But when they have reached Bubastis, they make a festival with great sacrifices, and more wine is drunk at this feast than in the whole year besides. It is customary for men and women, but not children, to assemble there to the number of 700,000, as the people of the place say. The river he refers to is the now dried-up Pelusiac branch of the Nile. Yet he seems to imply that the water brought them right up to where the temple was. Interestingly, recent geoarchaeological surveys have revealed that there were two sacred canals north and south of the Temple of Bastet. In Egypt, sacred canals and lakes, called Ishiru, were common features of temples, especially for fierce cat goddesses, whose temperaments could be calmed by the cool waters. Later on in the final native Egyptian dynasty, Dynasty 30, the kings Nekhtenebeth I and Nekhtorheb II engaged in further construction here, refurbishing and adding to the great Temple of Bastet. In the Greco-Roman period, the town went into decline, and by the time of the Arab invasion, Per Bastet had been reduced to ruins and was being used as a quarry. The site also has a museum, which is worth checking out. Shabtis, sometimes called Ushabtis or Shawabtis, are figurines, often left in tombs, that represented servants who would perform manual labor on behalf of the dead person in the afterlife. The number of shabtis placed in a typical elite burial grew over time.
From what I heard, in pre-dynastic times, they used to put real servants in the tombs and kill them.
Yeah.
But then they kind of mellowed out a bit and switched to these.
So, if you guys look, it's almost 365 like the days
Oh, one for each
for
day?
each day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not less than this number.
So was this
Maybe
all
it's
in
more.
one tomb? Or
One tomb.
One tomb.
One tomb.
Okay. So one for each day of the year.
Every day, one servant.
Wow.
But I guess this is for two people here because each person he carry four canopic jars.
Beautiful and expensive stone vases. Stone vases were made for the wealthy all through Egyptian dynastic history. They were made from various types of stone and were often used to hold ointments or makeup. Offering tables are stone slabs, often shaped like the hetep, the hieroglyph that means offering, on which the Egyptians placed food items and drinks for either the deceased or deities to consume. Well, not the physical part of the food and drinks, but the spiritual part. If you're a fan of jewelry, wealthy Egyptians had some of the very best made in the ancient world. Maybe you're interested in tools. There are selections of those here as well, some of them very old. This is the bust of Ramses II that was found at Tanis. We're going to be going to Tanis next. Time was running short, and we really needed to get to Tanis on time, so we took a shortcut. The tourism police, who were giving us an escort, got very irritated with us for taking this route because the road was bumpy and a little precarious. But we had to get to Tanis before it closed. I think the back roads are more interesting anyway. You get to see parts of Egypt not many people get to see. We are now entering Tanis. We took a shortcut and we got here on time, so I'm happy we made it. The city of Janet, better known by its Greek name Tanis, is at a place called San al-Hagar today. The city was located on the Tanitic branch of the Nile, now dried. Its ancient name, Janet, refers to the catching of fish, which indicates the site started out as a fishing center.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The town went on to play an important role as the eastern gateway of Egypt, a defensive station, and a strategic location for commerce. It is one of the most important archaeological sites in Egypt. Why? Because it was the capital of Egypt during the 21st and 22nd dynasties. Remains here have been found from at least as far back as the reign of Pepi I from the Old Kingdom. Numerous monuments of Middle Kingdom kings have been found here as well. Even though the site now has many monuments bearing the name of Ramses II, that is not because Ramses himself put them here. You see, the previous capital of Egypt, Ramesses, which had been established by Ramses II, was not far from here. It was at modern Kantir. But when the Pelusiac branch of the Nile began silting up, leaving the city without water, and the river established a new course to the west, now called the Tanitic branch, the 21st dynasty rulers moved the capital here. They brought with them all the old Ramesside temples, obelisks, stelae, statues, and sphinxes. And that is why you can find so many Ramesside monuments here. I should add that while many of the major buildings were transported in pieces, the largest was over 200 tons, which demonstrates the Egyptians of this time had the technological know-how to move objects of this weight. This was in the Third Intermediate Period, when Egypt became divided. King Nesbenebjed of the 21st dynasty, known to the Greeks as Smendes, set up his royal residence here. Pasebkanu I of the same dynasty, known to the Greeks as Psasanes, engaged in considerable building work here, turning the new capital into a major city. Later, the Meshwesh Libyans chose to keep the city as the center of their government too. There's not much left of the city today, but of those that existed in the Delta, which have not survived the test of time very well, this one still has the most to see on site.
Okay? The same design, the same...
So they wanted it to look like Luxor.
Yes, yeah, very good.
You may remember Tanis from the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, where it was described as an ancient Egyptian city ruled by the pharaoh Shishak, who, when he invaded Judah, as recounted in the Bible, had taken the Ark of the Covenant from the temple there, this is not mentioned in the Bible, and placed it here at Tanis, within a secret chamber called the Well of Souls. No such structure is spoken of in Egyptian records or has been found here. Dramatic license. However, there was a Shishak, Shawshank I of the 22nd dynasty, and he did invade the Levant, as spoken about in the Bubastite portal. So some people speculate that he could have taken the Ark, if it still was in the temple at the time. And his capital city is a logical place to bring spoils, so it's not out of the question that its remains could be here. According to the movie, shortly after the Ark was brought here, Tanis was consumed by a sandstorm, which lasted for an entire year and buried the city completely, brought about by the wrath of God. But archaeological evidence shows that the city lasted for many centuries more. One of the most important discoveries at Tanis is the Great Temple of Amun. It was designed to mirror the one at Karnak in the south, near Thebes. In many ways, Tanis was the Thebes of the north. Pasebkanu I built the first incarnation of the temple, bringing the blocks from Ramesses and other nearby sites. Subsequent kings added more installations to the temple, and other temples. Many of the materials brought here come from the reigns of earlier kings, but especially Ramses II. Stone was hard to come by in the Delta, and the kings of this time simply did not have the great wealth that pharaohs of the New Kingdom had. So they were apt to reuse materials from elsewhere.
This is a giant foot, and this is not even the whole foot. The foot went further back. So this is the largest statue of Ramses that was ever made, well, that we've ever found. How tall would you say it was? How tall was this? 28 feet?
28 meters.
Or meters?
Oh, meters.
28 meters tall. Wow.
Okay.
You're looking at the southern facade of a monumental portal to the temple built by Shawshank III. You may wonder why these inscribed blocks, many of them granite, are lying willy-nilly like this. The top one is even upside down. That's because they formed the core of the portal wall. They were once covered by a mud brick exterior. Yes, these blocks were brought from Ramesses and reused here as the interior of the structure. No one would have seen them or the hieroglyphs on them. But we can because the exterior facade is gone. Our guide points out a granite block bearing the name of King Khufu, owner of the Great Pyramid at Giza. This is the oldest known stone at Tanis. We don't know its original location. It was likely brought here from Ramses along with these other blocks. But Ramses II may have brought it to Ramses from somewhere else.
All the kingdom for dynasty. Ramses II usually took everything and clean and put his name. Okay? Look.
Yeah, that's
one king from all the kingdom. Snefru, Khofu, we are not sure. But Ramses II removed it and put his titles. Nibtawi, the Lord of two lands, Upper and Lower Egypt. Nib Irkhit, the Lord of rituals. And the coronation name Wasser, Ma'at, Ra, Setib, and Ra, Sa-Ra, Ramses II.
You can also see inscribed limestone blocks bearing the name of Shoshenq I. So yeah, Shoshenq III had no qualms even reusing stone from the founder of his own dynasty. The royal cemetery of Tanis can be found at the southeastern part of the temple complex. Compared to the New Kingdom tombs in the Valley of the Kings, the tombs of the 21st to 23rd dynasty kings are relatively small.
We're standing here in Tanis at the only royal tomb that was discovered intact, and it's the tomb of Pasebkanu I, also known as Psasanes I in Greek. And you're looking here into the burial chamber. It's kind of hard to see from out here. But this tomb here contained more than just one royal body. It had several royal bodies because not only was Pasebkanu found in there, but also two of his sons. Many wonderful treasures were found in this tomb because it had never been opened.
The tomb, NRT3 it's called, is closed to the general public. Archaeologist Pierre Montet discovered it on March 18, 1939, and 3 days later he opened it in front of an audience that included King Farouk I. It contains 5 chambers. Going through the entrance shaft, he happened upon a chamber containing the bodies of 2 of Pasebkanu's sons, Siamun and Pasebkanu II, both of whom were kings after Pasebkanu. Over here to the left were 2 other chambers, one being the tomb of another son, General Ankefenmut, and the other of General Wenkebaunjed, a very important person, but apparently not of the royal family. Also, Montet found the coffin of a 22nd dynasty king, Shoshenq II. Scientists found evidence of plant growth on the base of his coffin, which suggests that Shoshenq II's original tomb had become waterlogged, and so he needed to be moved. So he was reinterred in this tomb. You might call it a Shoshenq redemption. On February 15, 1940, Montet discovered the corridor to Pasebkanu's chamber. It was sealed with a single granite plug made from a section of an obelisk of Ramses II. It took 6 days for the workmen to chip away the block and open the chamber. Here, they found an intact burial, the treasures of Pasebkanu I. He was interred in a granite sarcophagus that once belonged to Pharaoh Meremptah from the 19th dynasty. In the sarcophagus, Montet found a silver coffin, a gold mummy board, and a golden mask covering the king's face. These finds are now in the Cairo Museum, which we will see in a few days. Next to the king's chamber was that of his wife, also his sister, Mutnojmet. But after the death of their son Amenemope, her body was swapped out for his, and that is who Montet found. There were other tombs discovered here, not intact. Tomb NRT4 was originally dedicated to Pasebkanu's successor, Amenemope, and it included a significant sarcophagus bearing the king's name. This sarcophagus was found empty because the king's body and his funerary materials were transported to Tomb NRT3. Tomb NRT5 was Shoshenq III's tomb, but Shoshenq IV decided he wanted to be in there next to him. The tomb of Osorkon II, NRT1, was the first discovered at the site. It has been largely looted.
Wow.
This is incredible.
Look at the size.
Wow.
This is the sarcophagus of Osorkon II, the king of Egypt. Look at
Amazing.
the size of it.
It's huge.
Isn't it something?
And there's quite a little drop down here too, so you can't easily step down below.
This particular tomb was not
Yeah.
discovered intact, but it was a royal tomb.
Incredible.
Also interred in this tomb was his young son, Hornacht, who was the high priest of Amun at Tanis, and who had died before his father. Osorkon's father, Tekelot I, was interred in this tomb as well. Both his and Osorkon's sarcophagus were borrowed. Tekelot's was from the Middle Kingdom, and Osorkon's was from the New Kingdom. Speaking of borrowing, we think Osorkon II's tomb originally belonged to Nezbanebjed, Smendes. Tomb NRT-2 belonged to Prince Pimai, Shoshenq III's son. Clearly at this time, the tombs were not as rich as they had been in earlier times, and kings reused older sarcophaguses instead of paying to have new ones made. But the discovery of the royal tombs at Tanis have given us essential information about the burial traditions of this period and the political relationship between Tanis and Thebes. Even after it was no longer the capital, Tanis lived on for a while. King Taharka of the 25th dynasty left monuments here, as did Psamtik I of the 26th dynasty. Even during the Ptolemaic period, it was important. Ptolemy III erected a copy of the Canopus decree here. It is the only surviving copy. This important document had been recorded in hieroglyphic, Demotic, and Greek script, in the same way as the Rosetta Stone. The city was abandoned after the 6th century CE because of the inundation of Lake Manzala, which turned the area into swampland. Later, the buildings of Tanis were destroyed in an earthquake during the Byzantine period. It was a long day, and the sun was going down. Our next stop was Giza, where we planned to stay the night. But we were hungry, so when we saw a place on the side of the road, we decided to stop and see what they had. We asked why they had all the lights and the loud music, and it turns out, by a total coincidence, it was their grand opening. Yeah, well, they were serving some of the best seafood I have ever eaten. What a treat.
Oh, look at this shrimp.
Actually, it's good. Why you don't try it?
Go for it.
We will be staying 5 days in the Cairo area, and I have so many amazing things to show you from there. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. In the next episode, you will see the wonders of Saqqara, including several pyramids, which we will go inside. If you haven't seen episode 1 yet, please go back and take a look. And if you're looking for a good general book on the history of ancient Egypt, which might help you follow along, I will leave recommendations under this video. Thank you for watching.